everybody. Welcome back to the Grow Your Moving Company podcast. I'm your host, Wade Swikle, owner of Two College Brothers, moving, storage, and franchising, and co-founder of the Moving Tighten Retreat and Tighten Up Training. And today's guest is somebody who I had the honor to meet at our most recent Arizona Mastermind. We had connected over Instagram and love the branding of her company and her husband and partner's company. This is Valentina Guetlin with Neon Giant Moving, based in the northwestern Washington area, a little bit outside of Seattle. They are pushing to be about a $2 million company this year, and they've got a fantastic realtor referral business and just general business development program. Valentina heads up most of the business development, the culture, the hiring, a lot of AI usage. So I'm really excited to get into this because I love talking about marketing. I love talking about culture. And there is nobody better than Val with Neon Giant at implementing these types of things. She was just telling me before we got on how they have already implemented so many takeaways from the most recent mastermind. Val, welcome to the Grow Your Moving Company podcast. How are you doing today?
Hi, Wade. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited. I remember the first time we had a conversation. I texted you through Instagram. It's like, hey, I love your book. And since you were so open to it, I responded. That's how we connected.
I love it. I love it. And that's so cool about like just social media these days. It's really the new calling card. It's kind of the new business card. I mean, just the other day, I was wearing one of my Titan retreat shirts at my pickleball country club, if you will. And somebody was like, hey, man, I like your shirt. And we ended up talking. Turns out he's a realtor and he also does construction and development. And we exchanged Instagrams right there on the spot. And it really, I mean, you know, we're playing pickleball. So I don't have business cards on me. I don't necessarily have my phone, or it's over on the other side of the court. But he had his and pulled it out. And we connected that way. So, you know, it's really cool to be able to connect with people really all around the world on Instagram. And that's how I meet a lot of people, whether it's a business development partner, guest for the podcast, or other moving companies who just want to talk shop. And, you know, same thing with the MCOU group on Facebook. It's a really good way to connect with people. But Val, tell me a little bit about your story. Again, I love your branding. I think that was the first thing I said to you when I responded. It's like, wow, we made shirts that kind of have that same kind of neonish South Florida kind of theme. And I just think it's really cool what you guys are doing. You got the Sasquatch logo in there, all you know, very noticeable driving down the street. But tell me a little bit, how'd you get into the moving industry and what brought you here today?
So my story is pretty interesting, different than you guys, because I read your book and I heard that a lot of moving business owner, they start in the truck and they do everything and then they scale. I came here by default. I'm not from the US, I'm from Colombia. My background is in business. And back in Colombia, I used to have a wellness center. So I met my husband, Dane, who is owner of Neon Giant, and I moved here. And that's how I started in the moving industry. Like, I didn't know absolutely anything about the moving industry, but I do know about business. So I started working in the company and fall in love with the business.
It is. It sucks you in. It's a fun business. And it's so crazy. I heard something the other day. People say it's type 2 fun. It's something that you didn't necessarily know you were going to like at the time, or maybe you didn't like doing it at the time. But I guess that's what the kids are saying these days. You look back and you're like, that was actually kind of fun. And I feel like that's a good way to describe the moving industry as type 2 fun. You don't always know what you're getting into that day, but you look back and there's just that sense of accomplishment every single day. You're getting to meet all kinds of different people from all walks of life, both from the customer side and the hiring side. And who would have thought you'd be moving all the way from Colombia to the northern Washington area? The weather, I imagine, is a little bit different. But I love hearing about the business culture in other countries too. When I travel, I haven't been to Colombia. I've been to Brazil and a few other Caribbean countries, but I'm always looking at new ideas. You know, when I was in France, I saw a moving company in action in Paris. I think it's really inspiring when you travel, because there's different cultures and different ways of doing things that we don't really see over here, but we can bring back to over here. And you think a lot of big companies have started that way by finding something in another country or another culture and ways that people do business differently, and bring that to the United States and implementing a new concept. But tell me a little bit, like, what was that culture, the business culture with the wellness center like in Colombia, or what's just the overall business climate in Colombia?
Completely different than here. The funny thing or the link that I made in my mind is when I was in Colombia, the core of my business like was helping people with stress level. And I came
Mm.
here and we do the same thing but in a different way. Because moving is so stressful. I never thought I was gonna be ended up doing something related in a different industry, but I did. But the way that we do business in Colombia is completely different. I like it more here because I believe that in the United States, people are more open-minded toward networking, helping each other out. Like you guys are the example of that. When we were in the Titan retreat, for me, it's like I'm so in love with this culture, enjoying that. No matter that you are another moving company, we are sharing knowledge and experiences, and we want to grow together. In Colombia, in certain areas, like in certain states, you feel a little bit more the tension of like you're my competition. I shouldn't be helping you. And networking over there is completely different because the culture over there is a respect and hierarchy. It's still very important. So you cannot go there as like, hey, I'm looking for the manager. I can help you with some moving things. No. Did you make an appointment? So it's different. You
Mm.
require different type of skills. But in the moving industry, one of the things that I learned because when they was in Colombia, I introduced him to a moving company that is very big in Colombia. They got like 500 employees, a lot of trucks, like more than 40, and they do their own service of their trucks. Like they make sure that they can service their trucks, so it saves them money. One of the things that I believe people over here can learn about them is that the guys over there, they don't have so many technology and dollies and resources, but they're so hard workers, so they don't
Mm.
complain. That's one of the things that like, hey, we got a lot of resources here. We should be grateful that the moving industry here has more perks and is not so over there in Colombia, you cannot charge by the hour. You do a flat.
Okay.
And there's no tipping like the tip is not in our culture. So people who work in the moving industry here get tips. We got more equipment, so it's different. For sure, I believe that the the thing that they can learn is the hard work. No matter the conditions, you're able to do a good job.
Yeah, I noticed that, like I said, I haven't been to Colombia. It's on my short list, though. I'd love to visit. I've been to Mexico, and I remember, I've been there a couple times, and every time I go, I'm just blown away by the customer service and how hard the people work. And it might be somebody in a relatively, entry level position, just a bus boy or a bellhop or, a driver, but they try so hard to make you happy, and it seems like they never have a bad day. They're hustling, they're running back and forth, and at a resort or whatever, I think they kind of get used to tips because there's a lot of Americans that go down there and they're used to tipping. But even out, in the cities and in the culture where it's not as touristy, that's amazing to me that they're not necessarily expecting a tip and they still go above and beyond. What do you think attributes to that?
Like speaking for my country, but I've been in Latin America and other countries, is like we are warm people. Honestly, people in Colombia most of the time are happy. We got a good weather. Well, you're in Tampa, but where I'm here in Seattle, it rains all the time. But we got
Yeah.
good weather. While the hustle is important, like I believe it's very in the American culture. In Colombia, people tend to enjoy a little bit more, not being in a rush all the time. Because that's one
Mm.
of the things that I struggle here is like we are in a rush to get to the next goal, to the next big step, to the next, which is important for the growth mindset, but we don't take the time to enjoy that accomplishment.
Mm.
Even like a easy example that in a daily life here is just more like I'm in my way to work. I want my coffee real fast to get to my destination. So I believe that that cultural aspect make the people over there a little bit more easygoing or outgoing or more warm.
That sounds nice. I think living in the moment. That's something that sometimes we forget to do in our culture here in the States is we're always just striving. And, there's pros and cons to that. We've got it's a very capitalistic society. We want to strive for success and keep up with the Joneses and rise to the next level and the next level and the next level. But it's also important to have gratitude and appreciate, stop and smell the roses every now and then and appreciate, family and relationships. And I've noticed that in other countries too. They're very family oriented. They value their relationships more. And that's a really cool perspective to hear. But what about business development? What lessons did you learn in Colombia with growing your business in the wellness space that you've been able to apply in Washington?
Well, the biggest lesson for me that I still apply is that if you want a lasting relationship, it takes time. You cannot rush it. So you gotta be mindful that it's gonna take time. So you're planting the seeds, watering every day with the right amount of water until it start growing. It happened to me here. Before we have all of these systems that we have now for the referral program, the first year that I started the business development with Neon Giant, I was all over the place. Like, okay, I went to a realtor meeting, starting to introduce myself, get more familiar with the realtors, with what they do, what agency are they on, a whole year. Where sometimes I felt like, am I doing the right thing? Because I don't see like the referrals. But a year later, this year is a blessing that we did that because we are getting 80% of our referrals are from realtors and past customers.
Wow. That's a great way to grow a business. In fact, I talk about it in my book. I think it's the best way to grow a business is through repeat and referral business, where every move that you make turns into a move multiplier. And I just did the podcast with Larry O'Toole with Gentle Giant, and I'm currently reading his book. And he said that the first 2 decades really of his business, it was all built on word of mouth from doing an amazing job servicing his clients and getting involved, particularly in the academia and the sporting community. And I've seen that firsthand too. I think a lot of moving companies, they take this shotgun approach where they go to the Chamber of Commerce meeting or the Realtor Association meeting or the brokerage to do a presentation, and they're trying to get in front of as many realtors as they can. But they're not going deeper. And I tell my team, it'll pay off a lot more if we just dig deep into the relationships with some key partners rather than trying to do this blanket shotgun approach where we're trying to work with, 1,000 different realtors. Let's pick 10 and let's just focus on 10 and making sure that they're taken care of. And we all know too that a lot of realtors, I think it's like a statistic, like 90% of the realtors only do about 10% of the business, and about 10% of the realtors do like 90% of the business. And a lot of those realtors have teams. So it's important to meet with the teams of certain realtors and brokerages and get to know the people that are the customer facing people. Sometimes the big names aren't really talking to customers all that much. They've got buying agents and selling agents underneath them. They've got administrators. What's been your experience in your market on, how to connect with the realtors and how to dig deep and build those relationships that seems to be working?
So one of the first things that we start doing that actually work, because remember, like our systems start working this year. This year is where we're seeing like, oh my God, this is actually working. But one of the things that work for us is we make tiers. So tier one, these are the realtors that are very good partners for us. Refer us, talk about us, like then the tier two and tier three. But before we did that, I got a big board. I can show you right now because it's downstairs. Where I was like, this is the realtors that I want to connect with. This is the realtors that I want to recruit or connect with, like my aspirationals. So I start following them on Instagram. I believe it's a great tool, social media. At the beginning, start connecting with them, show genuine interest without offering anything. Like, hey, I'm a moving company, just comment, congratulations on your listing. They share their personal life as well. So you start knowing what they like. And then I connected with them through DM. So for example, a real example that happened this year, I connected with a 1% realtor through Instagram. We shared the Latin roots, but she's US born, but she got like Mexican heritage. So I find a point of connection. start reacting to her stories. And thanks to her, we haven't met in person yet. That's one of my goals. She opened the gate for the broker owner of a big agency. She introduced me, and thanks to her, we were able to do a presentation about Neon Giant in that broker.
Hey movers, it's Wade Swikle, and you're listening to the Grow Your Moving Company podcast. If you've ever wasted money on marketing to the wrong homes, listen up. This is why I use USA Home Listings. They're the only platform in the moving industry built by movers that not only has new home listings and under contract listings updated daily, but now offers enhanced data that can eliminate vacant homes and give you phone numbers and emails for both homeowners and realtors, giving you multiple ways to connect and close more jobs. Their vacancy AI tool removes empty homes so there are no more wasted mailing efforts, and their Tier 2 data takes it further, providing highly accurate contact details for both homeowners and realtors for email, phone, and social outreach. The result? Higher conversions, stronger ROI, and more book jobs with less spend. Check out usahomelistings.com because it's where real movers get real leads.
So connecting through social media, having a system where you can track it is key way. Like the CRM that we show you guys over there in the Titan retreat. That's been a game changer because, for example, yesterday, a top realtor refers to a customer. It is connected to the Smart Moving API, our CRM. So the sales guy put it in Smart Moving. How do you hear about us? With a realtor. Oh, what realtor? Gavin. Perfect. They do the estimate or they put in the system. And a little bell in the CRM. Bring new referral from Gavin Land. We are not at the stage of the business where I have like 1,080 that is so hard to maintain that I need AI. I still can do it. So whenever it rings, I message them through our CRM right away. Hey Gavin, thank you for sending Natalie our way. I'll let you know if she booked with us. So we are on top of mind of them because they refer us yesterday and they get the text the next day or as soon as the customer calls. And we're able to track how many people they send our way, how many actually book with us, how much is the move. So for example, we got a top realtor last month, 2 months ago, 4 referrals, 73,000.
Wow.
Because they were out of state move. But she's a top realtor and she owns an agency. So she opened the door for more of her.
Wow. And that was basically within a month. You got 4 referrals for 7. Wow, that's fantastic. I mean, imagine having, just a few of those where you'd go out of your way to make sure that their move goes perfect and they're sending you 3, 4 referrals a month. I tell my team, if you do an outreach, just a general connection outreach to one person a day, that's all it takes. Each person in 300 working days out of the year could potentially connect with 300 new people in our community. Now, not all those people are going to be responsive. Some of them may not really have opportunities to send you business if they're not a high producer. So let's say like 10% of them turn into somebody that we can work with, or that sends us actual referrals. That's 30 new moves a year. That right there, almost 3 moves per month. And a lot of times the realtors have a high average ticket price compared to like a renter or somebody that finds you on Google or whatever. And they're less likely to shop around to try to find the cheapest company because they've got this warm introduction and there's usually a real estate transaction. So they'll have a little bit of money from the closing and the equity that they're buying and selling with. And if everybody does that once a day and we've got, 5 people, 10 people on the team that are doing those outreach approaches, they only have to nurture, 30 contacts a year that can potentially produce 3 moves a month each. And you can organically start to grow the business at virtually no cost. And I love your approach with social media. One thing I try to get my team to do and I try to do is fill our company Instagram page or Facebook page with nothing but business development. When we follow people, try to follow all of the realtors that we can, try to follow all of the business development, partners. It may not necessarily be a realtor, and just like and comment on their stuff because it's hard to get a lot of reach when you make an organic posting for a listing and they might only get 5 likes maybe no comments. So if your company is one of those 5 people liking every post because you're just scrolling and liking each thing each day and commenting on their posts, and then occasionally sliding into the DMs and introducing yourself and trying to set up a coffee meeting, a lot of things could happen. I know one quick story. I was at a coffee shop working one day, and a realtor had left his card on the tables at the coffee shop. And so I picked up his card and I reached out to that realtor. Ended up meeting him at that coffee shop a few days later for coffee. He introduced me to his team lead, and now we've got an amazing working relationship with his team lead. We just did I think it was a $6,000 or $7,000 move that he referred. We've got another one moving into a penthouse in a high end luxury high rise next week. That will not only be a great move for us, but also get our foot in the door at that facility and be able to hopefully help more people out in that facility. And it all happened just from one outreach from a business card that I saw laying around on a table at a coffee shop. So, you never know where that opportunity is going to go. And I love that approach that you're taking. When you do get to go in for a presentation, tell me a little bit about how your presentations are structured. What are you doing, to leave the most lasting impression, to continue to build relationships with everybody in those offices?
Okay, so I know everyone says this because it's true, but you got to be obsessed on delivering value because, I mean, we all do moving. The difference is the DNA that we have as a company. There is this book that I recommend you. I mean, I read it, but I still don't know how to implement it. It's called Raving Fans.
Yeah,
Super
love
easy
that.
to read, but I haven't been able to put into practice. So I don't know. I'm still figuring out how to make a raving fan. But to tell you about what we do on the presentations is the first slide is something so simple about what we do. Like, hey, we can help you. We can help you wait with local move. We can help you with long distance. If a customer needs packing, we also do. We try to put junk removal at the end. Honestly, like we do it, but we want to tell them this of our move, our packing, a full service move. After that, we talk about our referral program in our CRM. It's like, and if you're interested, we have a referral program where I create a portal just for you where you can track the customer, if the move is booked, when is the move going to happen, when it finished, and if they leave a review, I can upload it and you can see the review of the customer. A lesson that I learned recently for anyone who's listening, hopefully you don't make the same mistake. We were in a presentation like that. You go, you get people, your car, you create the portal, and it happened recently, before 4th of July. A new realtor referred us someone. I reached to him as like, hey, Ian, thank you for sending Abigail our way. I'll keep you posted about her move. It happened on July 3rd, the move. I was in the 4th of July, I wasn't here. On Monday that I came back, I called the customer just to see how the move went. She wasn't happy. We lost our realtor. So one of the things that I'm doing now, and again, it depends on the size of the business. Like if you need a BA, if you need someone just for that. But what I'm doing now to prevent that happening and to lose that relationship, because that realtor is not going to recommend us again. She said, and we didn't do any damage. She just wasn't happy because in her mind, she thought that the move should go fast. And what I'm doing now, because I do the business development, is whenever I have a VIP customer, like I call that person during the move because the system alarms is like, hey, Natalie, this is Valentina from Neon Giant Moving. I'm just calling to check in on you, see how everything's going. Oh yeah, it's going great. Is everything going according to plan? Are you satisfied? Yes. At the end of the move, like, hey, if you need something, just let me know. And in that way, I'm just doing it recently. If something happened, we're able to do something in the moment and avoid damaging the relationship with that realtor. Another example, because this is so recent, I did that with another customer. Like, hey, the guys are doing great. They're doing an awesome job. It was a 2-day move. At the end of the move, everything was great. And he called me. Hey, like I noticed that one thing of the piano is not working. The guys just left 10 minutes ago. Do you think they can come back? Well, we called the crew. It was like, hey guys, I need you to turn back and like see what's happening to the piano. They did. and now we got a 5-star review and it's safe. Because I don't want that to happen. You do all these things to nurture a relationship with a realtor. You go to the meetings, you have a good CRM, you connect with them on social media. But if you do not deliver what you say you're going to do, you're going to lose that relationship. And I believe that last year, since we didn't have that system, we lost one realtor. I'm assuming because one customer was not satisfied and she told the realtor. So if you have a BA, if you're on a size of a company like us that a human can still do it, I do recommend that if you're gonna invest your time in a relationship like that, make sure that the move goes well. And if it doesn't, you're able to do something in the moment.
Yeah. Yeah, that's incredibly frustrating. It's happened to me. I think it was probably last year. There was a high profile realtor that was the leader of the Keller Williams real estate brokerage in St. Petersburg. And him and I hit it off. He had a local podcast that I went on, gave him a copy of my book. I was nurturing this relationship for about 6 months. And we had a great relationship. We had him speak at one of our local events. We would communicate back and forth all the time, and so he finally sends us a referral for his sister. And our one of our team members who is no longer with us at this time, we were moving his sister to Pennsylvania, and we had her items in storage, and he forgot the bed to load the bed onto the truck, the one thing that they would need that night. And it was a lot of damage control. I reached out, we ended up getting the bed up to them a few days later, but I reached out to him and just apologized. Hey, this isn't how we do business. It was that personal approach. And he said, things happen, understood. It's just, you'll still be on our vendor list, and it just happened to be a sister. And I was like, oh, I've spent 6 months working on this guy and we made this stupid mistake. And it happens, that happens, and we're human beings and mistakes are going to happen. And I think it's a lot of times more what you do about the situation. Since we have the network that we have through the Moving Titans, thankfully I had another Florida company that was headed up to the Northeast, and they were able to put the bed on their truck and help us out in that situation. And that's where the relationships that we build in our industry come into play, that are so key, because it would have cost us a fortune to have to just drive up there and back with just a bed. And we were able to leverage that. But you mentioned the book Raving Fans, and I read that book years ago, I think a couple of times actually, and it resonated so much with me. At the time, we had been working with a third-party claims coordinator. So anytime we would have a claim, we would pass it over to her, and she'd take 30 days or whatever. She worked with several companies, and it was not a raving fan experience. If there was something that went wrong, if there was a damage, if there was a billing issue, whatever it may be. And so what I decided to do is I created a role in my company called a chief of raving fans. And we ended up hiring a person who worked remotely. It was kind of before the VAs were really a popular thing internationally. So this person, she only lived about 2 hours away. And we put out basically a nationwide search for our own chief of raving fans, who would be an employee of our company and would do exactly what you're saying, where they call during the move to check in. They follow up after the move. Maybe the customer's busy, they don't answer during the move. But either way, we're calling after the move, because sometimes customers won't tell you how it's going with the guy standing right in front of you, but they'll tell you everything the next day if you can get in touch with them. And we make it a point. We call, we text, we email every single customer until we get some kind of a response with feedback on how the move went, because the last thing we want is a customer who is just quiet. A lot of customers, maybe if they're not totally happy or if they're not a raving fan, they're like, yeah, it was fine. They're satisfied, but it could have been better. And they just don't want the conflict. They're like, it's done, moving stressful, let's move on with our lives. But by really making that effort to get that personal feedback with a human being, you can catch those things and make those things right that may never otherwise get brought to your attention, because they'll either forget about you and they won't hire you again or refer you, or they'll go tell all their friends, because people love, they're 10 times more likely to talk about a bad experience than a great experience, or a good experience, I should say. A lot of times a great experience, they will go tell all their friends, families, neighbors, whatever, about the service that they got, because they were pleasantly surprised. But a simply satisfied customer is either going to forget about you, they're not going to talk about you, or the worst case scenario is that they go around telling people about their experience that wasn't very good, and you don't even know about it. You can't even do anything about it. So we brought in a chief of raving fans to solve that exact issue. And they also handle our claims. Now it's actually a team. We've got a VA based out of Mexico City, as well as a US based person that is also a 911 dispatcher as her second job. She's used to handling people in crisis mode and stressful situations, probably the worst day of their life, where hopefully moving isn't. And they're phenomenal at addressing those claims. And if there is an issue, if the job went long, if there's a damage claim, if there was something that they didn't like, we're able to now get ahead of it. And we offer a raving fan mover money back guarantee now, which was an idea that Larry from Gentle Giant had given me, where if a client is not satisfied with any of our movers, and we catch it by doing that move day check-in call, we'll replace that mover right away and refund the cost of that mover up to that point. Or, if we don't catch it until after the fact, we'll just refund the cost of that mover back to that customer overall. And so if they're taking too long, if they're smoking on the job, which obviously is a big no-no, they took off their uniform shirt, or whatever the case may be that they're not happy with a specific person, we offer that guarantee. And we could probably count on one hand how many times we've actually had to redeem that, because usually we can find another resolution. And recently we've started doing a program called Raving Fan Friday, where we pick a customer. Usually it's the biggest job of the day on Fridays, and management goes out and hand delivers a care package with a gift card in it and something nice, maybe a bottle of champagne or wine, to make their day. To whether they're having a great experience, it's that much better, to where it's going to be a memorable experience where they tell people or they want to use this again. If they're not having a great experience, we've got a manager stopping by to make it right there on the spot, and try to do everything we can. Hey everybody, Wade here, and I've got an awesome game-changing announcement for you. Now, I know a lot of you guys are constantly asking, how do we get more leads? How do we get better leads? You're tired of spending way too much money for pay-per-click or buying leads or LSA, whatever it may be, only to get low-paying customers that become a headache with small moves, and you don't get an ROI on those jobs. Well, the exciting news is that our friends at Moversville have just launched a new product called the Realtor Referral Engine, where they not only get in front of realtors, but they command direct response, replies, and referred business. I'm super pumped about this, but don't just take my word for it. My friend Austin Yarborough over at Central Coast Moving and Lucky Day Moving and the Moving Army, I know he's got a bunch of them, just like me, that's why we're friends, has gotten over 40 direct replies from realtors in his first month of using the Realtor Referral Engine from Moversville. And then there's Scott with ABC Moving Systems. He's booked over $30,000 in work and made over 20 new realtor connections. What can an extra $30,000 a month do for your business? Here's what makes this kind of marketing different. These aren't just one and done jobs. These are realtors who keep referring large jobs, can introduce you to the other members of their brokerage, and then those moves can start referring more and more jobs. You have to stay front of mind though. So if you want to learn more about the Realtor Referral Engine by Moversville, head on over to moversville.com and book a quick 15-minute call with my friend Tim, who runs the place. He'll know exactly what your business needs to get set up. He can do it all to make sure that you're getting high ticket jobs at a fraction of the cost of other marketing sources. I think you're going to be happy that you did that. Don't sleep on this one. Go check out moversville.com. Look for the 15-minute intro call with Tim and report back with your results so that I can talk about them here on the show. Thanks for tuning in. Because most people, and you get some irrational people from time to time, but most people are more concerned with what the company is going to do about a problem than about the problem itself. And if you can get ahead of it and catch it in time before it festers and becomes a bigger problem, then a lot of times you can turn what would have been a 1-star or a 2-star review into a 5-star review, because they're so blown away about going above and beyond. And in turn, we also do that internally with our own employees, because we want our employees to be raving fans about the place that they work. And we want them to tell their friends, especially the best employees. Because for me, that's the best way to find your best team, is through the people that are already embracing your values and doing a great job. So we try to recognize one team member on Fridays as well at a Friday morning meeting for going above and beyond throughout the week. So it's kind of like an employee of the week kind of recognition to make their day. You're in charge of the culture at Neon Giant. What are you doing to perpetuate that culture of positivity internally?
So culture is an ongoing process. It never stops. That's one of the things. So before I'm sure this happened to a lot of business owners. Before I came here, the hiring process was like, hey, you got moving experience. This is just like a few questions, put it on the job, and we're in peak season. We just need it. Now, since we did the giant values, great initiative, attitude, no excuses, and teachable, whenever we do an interview, and this is an example of implementation, before someone comes here, I don't know if it was you or Chad, I don't remember who told me about like, we require of a video of the people, whoever is coming, so we know how they look and they talk, especially the communication, how they talk. So we do that, and then before people come to an interview, someone called us and asked a few questions, especially like values related, like, hi, what do you like? What are your expectations? What plans do you have? Because I do want reliable people. I don't want to hire like someone who's planning to move to go out of state in 2 months. So we do like a vetting, and then in the interview, we ask like skills, but I'm there looking at what they say they value. And then when we do the test in the moving day, one thing is what you like, what you say you value. When you go into action, that's what it actually show what you.
Yep, I agree.
So it's still a learning process. In every meeting that we have, we remember our values. You guys are expected to show grit, show initiative, and we do examples. So repetition is the key. Also, for the culture, we do the Brighten Your Day guarantee. So we got a portal, because we use AI. It's called the Neon Rewards. It's an internal program. When every time they go above and beyond in a job, they send me a little video. It's like, hey, we're here in Wade's job. He didn't ask to, but we are stocking his fridge because it's so hot that he needs everything on the fridge. Something that is not required for you to do in the job. Or we got another example. It was a really older couple, and they were in their new house, and one of our guys took the time to install the Wi-Fi, because for like an older couple it was difficult. So he installed the Wi-Fi. So that kind of stuff, we do it also for the culture. That's why I really love the book that you recommended, The Heavy Lifting, because for me, like I told before, you can really make the difference in your company when the DNA of the company is in your guys, the owners, like everyone involved in the moving company share the same values. I just love it. And also to reinforce that, we want to make it like you're ahead of us. I love it, so I can learn so much. We offer our guys, after 3 months working here, a gym membership, because it is important that they take care of their body. Not everyone uses it. It's voluntary, it's not mandatory. They only have to pay like $12 a month. The rest is covered by us. We also give them, we notice or that money is not always enough. It becomes a requirement. So what we're offering, every time they met the standards, they go above and beyond, they got the points, experiences. So Wade is our employee of the quarter. You get 500 points with Gamified. And that allows you to couple experience a massage with your spouse in a spa here. In that way, we're also supporting other local businesses, which is part of our philosophy.
I
So
love that.
to put it in, like summarize it, the culture is reinforced in the meetings, in our everyday actions, and also the way that we, as the leaders, interact with our employees. Like, we don't ask them anything that we cannot do. Like, me and Dane, I work where I live. Sometimes I work Sunday and they don't see it. Sometimes it's 5, 6 p.m. Everyone, you go out, but we're still thinking with Dane. It's like, oh my God, how can we make this experience even better? So, for example, this is something that we're actually thinking about. We are doing a move. Check this out. This is so interesting. That's why I love the movie industry. The move that we're doing in August is for the son of Bill Anders, the 3 guys that went to Apollo 8, the
Wow.
first man that went to the moon, like, well,
Wow.
orbit out of air. We were at the museum yesterday and he was sharing the story. So after hours with Dane, I talk about us like, how can we make a great experience for him? How can we make something memorable? This is such an interesting guy. Like, his dad was in Apollo 8. like went to the moon. It's so cool. Like
That's very cool.
after hours.
That's
So I don't
cool.
have the exact recipe. I don't believe you get a recipe for the culture. It's something that you keep learning and learning and learning and implement it and figure out what works for you.
Yeah, and I don't think there's a right or wrong way to define your culture. I think the key is that it's defined and that it's something that you can authentically live your life by and make your decisions by. We had hired a consultant years ago to help us define our core values. And actually, when I originally took over two college brothers from my original moving company, they had core values listed out. So we ran with those for a little while, but they didn't really mean anything to us. Like they were somebody else's core values. Later on, we hired the consultant. They helped us redefine some core values, and it still just wasn't quite resonating. And then one day I was just sitting at home, maybe getting ready to go to bed, whatever. My mind was kind of winding down, even though it's always spinning. And it struck me like a bolt of lightning, and I was like, how do I live my life? Like, what do I do on a daily basis that I try to do with my company and make my decisions by? And it just hit me, and it was be honest, own it, hone it, and hustle. So obviously honesty, that's the speed of trust. Owning it, taking ownership. As an owner myself, I want to be in control, but that also comes with the responsibility of owning up to things where I may make a mistake, taking ownership in the role and passing that down to my team members to where they can take ownership in whatever role they're in, whether it's an entry level mover helper role or it's a more higher end manager role. Taking that ownership and not pointing the finger, not making excuses, because you can't deposit excuses. I know you said no excuses is one of yours. Being a problem solver and not a problem finder. And then honing your skills, reading books, listening to podcasts, watching YouTube videos, going to conferences, working with consultants, masterminding, talking to other people, finding mentorship, all that stuff, just hands-on practice. If there's one area that I'm not good at in sports, I take reps and I focus on getting better in that area. Or if there's somewhere I'm strong, I try to get stronger. And then hustle, being the hardest working person out there, trying to be efficient, getting things done, looking for things to do. All of those are values that I try to live by, and I try to make the decisions in my company. And that was something I could get excited about and that I could perpetuate with the company. And we had a brotherhood day on Sunday this past weekend. It was kind of like a summer reset where we brought in the whole team and we did some training. We played some games, mover challenge games where, it reinforced the behaviors that we want to see. And we started off that meeting by saying the first person to name all four core values gets $100 cash right here on the spot. And, within a few seconds, somebody yelled them out to get $100. And the other guys see that and they're like, oh, dang, man, maybe they didn't know them, or maybe they just couldn't, they rattle them off as quickly. And so you can bet the next meeting, there'll probably be a bunch more people that are able to rattle those off. And I think it's just, you got to just continuously reinforce it 100 times more than you think you need to, because these might be your core values that stay in the front of your mind. It's more than just posters on the wall or something in their employee handbook. This has to be something that stays front of mind with them, so that when they're faced with a difficult decision or they have to solve a problem out on the job site or in the office, then they revert back to it. Okay, like let's go through the values here and make sure that we're making the decision based off of what these things are. So important. And I used to think it was this fluff thing that, you just had to do because some book somewhere told you you were supposed to do it. But when you really look at the essence of what core values are, you have them whether you know it or not. And you might as well take a hard look in the mirror and define those and make sure that your team is a reflection of those, because otherwise you'll have a bunch of conflicting values and people will be focusing on different things. And it's important to get on the same page and row in that same direction.
And it takes time because like you, I'm an avid reader. I love reading. And in a book, I read something that really stuck with me. Like I think it was Tony Robbins or Brené Brown. I don't remember. We can say like it's easy to say your values. If you ask me, it's like, what are my values? Yeah, I'm super disciplined. I'm a hustler, whatever. But one thing is what you say, and the other one is how you live your values. How you live your values are actually how you see life. Because you can say like, I'm super disciplined, but you don't train, you don't like learning, you just prefer like easygoing. So no, your first value is not discipline, is a different one. So that's one of the things that when we were doing our values, we were like, okay, do we actually live these values? Like, do we have grit, initiative, attitude? Well, and we came to like, oh yeah, we live our life in this way. And not only this, I mean, it has a bunch of values in there, like reliability and everything. So, and if you look like businesses has a certain evolution. So whoever is listening must be in a different stage of the business. Someone are toddlers, so doing everything by themselves. The other one can be a kid where the business start like walking, or you might be in a stage where the business is a teenager, the growing pains. That's where we are. Like, hey, sales are good, but the systems, we need the systems to become a young adult. A young adult is like, cash flow is not an issue. I get systems, but how do I go to maturity? Like, and through those path or those stage, if you think about it at the beginning, every business start as a toddler. Your DNA is over there. Your vision is over there. The owner vision is over there. That's why it's so important that at the beginning you establish what are the values for you that you want to replicate in your company. Because at the end of the day, at the beginning, you are the company.
That's right.
You are the brand, and then you go evolving, evolving, evolving. So it's really cool. But not everything is like sunshine and roses.
No,
There's so much like to learn. We're still learning so much. Like we're trying to our hiring process. Because when I'm reading the Gentle Giant book, it's like, oh my god, I want to get to that point where recruiting. Right now, we're very very lucky. We have guys that been with us. We haven't been like recruiting until we got from the Titan retreat because we've got that been with us for 2 years already. Like we haven't been. They're good, but I don't want to be in the situation like you mentioned in a podcast with the golden hunt. Like I got like someone who's not fitting the culture, who's not meeting the standards that we want, and we cannot fire him because I don't want that to happen. I don't want that to happen. So we're still improving in our hiring system. We're not perfect at it. We don't have like a system right now. We're doing it, but we don't have a system like we do with the realtors or with the Neon Rewards.
I want to take a second and tell you all about Tighten Up Training. As a co-founder, we've spent months and months and months and a lot of money pooling together resources from some of the best moving companies in the world. And we're excited to bring this to an online platform available to any mover to use at an affordable price. Tighten Up Training has over 200 videos, including mover training, your highest turnover position, so that you can reduce claims, streamline operations, give your team the tools to perform at the highest level of service that generate repeat and referral business and allow you to charge higher prices, as well as sales training, marketing training, business development, leadership. We're adding more content as we speak. We've got legal training in there. We've even got door-to-door training for the moving industry, thanks to Lenny Gray at the Moving Titan Retreat. We've seen a massive explosion of moving companies jumping on to Tighten Up Training since the last retreat, and people are loving it. And when you sign up and mention this podcast, we're going to give you a free 6-week onboarding course in order to learn how to hold your team accountable and get the entire team on the platform so that you can have the best off-season and summer season that you've ever had. So go to tightenuptraining.com, schedule your free demo today, and look forward to tightening up.
And we're using AI a lot to help us to learn about it. So for example, I don't know if you struggle with that, but when I came here, since my job changed so much, like I used to have a wellness center and I was also a TV presenter. My schedule was like, okay, I go to the TV show, I record that, I do a podcast, I love this. I do this, and when I came here, I felt so lost about what am I going to do? Like, what is my schedule looking like? So I use AI a lot to like tell them my goals, create a master prompt for me as a human being, not only as a business owner. Like, hey, this is me. This is what I do, my role, my aspiration, my goal, blah, blah, blah. And create me a master prompt so you know everything about me. And after that, I start creating system prompts. It's like, okay, now we're going to create with the master prompt that you know about me, a system prompt for Neon Giant. Everything related with Neon Giant and my role with Neon Giant. Create me a system prompt for my running goals. or whatever I want to improve, and finances, whatever. And I use AI to help me figure out gaps. Or when I'm so lost, it's like I feel like I'm doing so much, but I don't see results. Can you audit my calendar, check my emails, and try to find gaps, something that I'm not seeing? Ask me questions if you need to. Do not make anything up. Like, okay, I don't see in your calendar. Like, keep in mind that I don't put everything on my calendar. So ask me questions like, from this time to this time, what do you do? Where do you feel like you struggle the most? And thanks to that, as a business owner, I figured out like it's not like a schedule, but like blocks of time where I can use my mind better, because I'm a morning person where my creativity is like thinking like, hey, how can I develop a relationship? How can I make this customer to like go above and beyond? Or how can we create one of the challenges that I have is how can I create our CRM like a follow up with the realtor that doesn't involve me. Like I can make the introduction, I can tell, hey, thank you notes, but like a follow up, something that is connected to smart moving, the job finish. We got the review on Google. How can I make it automated so if the review is good though? How can I make it automated so the realtor knows right away? So if
I
I
love
use
it.
AI on that to help
Yeah,
me.
it's so powerful because I had learned about systems and processes years ago. And if you haven't read the book, The E Myth Revisited
Oh yeah,
by Michael Gerber, I believe it is, he talks about creating systems and processes so that they talk about there's a parable about, I think her name's Mary. She bakes pies. She makes the best pies, but she is limited in her ability to make the pies. So she starts to create systems and processes in order to delegate certain tasks to start taking herself out of the business to grow her pie baking business. And that book really resonated to me. It was one of the first business books I read early on in my business. And over the last decade, we have been writing out systems and processes for everything. And now with AI, I'm able to upload all of those systems and processes that I had in my head that I put onto paper, and I uploaded it to Claude as well as ChatGPT in a project section on those apps, to where I have them both analyze our systems processes. They can help us fine tune them. If I don't remember something because I wrote it 7 or 8 years ago, I can search it real quick and it'll give me the answer on a certain process for something. But it was interesting because I was struggling a little bit with getting our people to follow our systems and being able to enforce them, and getting, we had it all on paper. We even printed it off into playbooks that we could hand out or keep on desks. We have it in our Tighten Up training that we've white labeled in our company for Two College Brothers University, where everybody has to go through it when they onboard, and then periodically for retraining if it needs to happen, or if we need to roll out a new one. But at the same time, I was getting people saying, well, I'm not sure what the SOP on this is, but this is what I did. I'm like, interesting. Like how are you not sure? We spent all this time and energy and all these different tools to do it. And so when I asked Claude, why is this happening? It said the content is not the issue. You've got so much content, in fact, that it's an overwhelming amount of systems and processes. And it literally within 60 seconds helped me simplify what used to be several pages of written material or maybe several videos into a one-page checklist infographic that we can keep on trucks, on the back of iPads, wherever in front of mind, that has every single part of it in the most simple form possible, with fun graphics and interactive infographic style formatting. And I'm like, wow, like he's I call Claude he. Some people call her she. But I was like, Claude is right on the fact that we like having the content, having the SOP isn't our problem. It's simplifying it and distilling it into a way that is easy to follow, easy to remember, easy to access, so that people keep it front of mind, and they can train on that to get a little bit of fundamental with Tighten Up training. They can go through the manual and try to look things up. But the reality is, when somebody's in the middle of the situation, and like you said, it's not always sunshine and roses, they're not going to go, let me just flip to page 73 and find this process, or let me log on to my computer. Sometimes they don't have their computer or phone or a tablet on them, and then go through all the modules to find this one simple process. And it's helping me now simplify all of those SOPs and make it so that they're much more enforceable, that they're more front of mind. And sometimes more is not better when it comes to those. It's okay to have like reference materials where it goes deep into the nuances of the process. But when it comes to a quick, easy access resource, you want the path of least resistance to get the high level stuff. And then if they need more clarification, they can dig into it, a little bit more. But something is better than nothing in that case, even if it's only 80% of the process. It'll, or let's see, if it's only 20% of the process, it'll accomplish 80% of what the process is designed to accomplish. And so that's currently what I'm working with AI on developing. But I know you use AI for your realtor referral program as an extension, because Smart Moving has the affiliate link that you can set up in there. But you've gone to the next step, the next level with it. And you've built out your own basically app for tracking that and the automated follow-ups and stuff. Tell me a little bit about what you've done with AI to create that realtor referral program to make it better.
So before I go to that, I want to share with you two examples of how we're using AI. Like one that is a project, I haven't used it yet, and the other one, how we use it to our webpage. After a conversation that we had in a meeting, networking, whatever, we use AI to help us, because as a moving business owner, you love your website. It's like, oh my God, my website is so cool, the branding is so cool. But the customer wants something that is so simple. And before, we used to have our webpage quote form super complicated, like an interview. We make it so simple way. It's like instant quote. Like we don't require so much information. Like, yeah, zip code or where you're moving. Like, is it moving, local? We make it super simple with the AI. Like, hey, help me improve this in our website. We want to change it. And with Claude, it was possible. And now the quote is super simple, like for a customer. That's one of the examples we use.
With a website, it really serves two purposes. It's to build trust and capture leads. And so you want that every keystroke a customer has to make, or every mouse click a customer has to make to find out what they're trying to do or to connect with your company, decreases statistically the likelihood that they'll complete that before they abandon it. And so anytime somebody asks me to look at their website, aside from all the SEO and it does get, kind of complicated with that stuff, but the fundamental aspect of a good website should have a very simple quote form at the above the fold as soon as they get to it, with just the basic information: name, phone number, email. If you want to include one or two more fields to get an understanding on what it is that they're asking about, that's fine. But just keep in mind, like every single extra piece of information makes it one more piece of effort you're asking for the person to get in touch with you. Have the phone numbers at the top, have a very simple quote form with as few fields as possible.
Yes, super
that drips right
simple
into your system. Yeah.
And what we did with AI, like you can, like whoever is listening, you can actually make the exercise. We told AI, like, hey, why don't you look at the website of the best moving companies? Let me know what they're doing good. So you look, of course, at yours, like, what are they doing that we're missing in our website? Like, yeah, our quote was on the last page. It wasn't at the beginning like it is now. So that's one of the uses of AI. And another one that I haven't tried, but I want to start implementing, so I don't know if it's going to be good or not. Have you heard of Plot? It's like a little microphone that you put in your head. So what I want to do is to start using Plot in our training, put it to Claude, because my favorite is Claude. I use Claude and Gemini, but I like Claude. Put the training into Claude and start like helping me identify the gaps in this training. What am I missing from a mover point of view? That's something that I do all the time when I'm doing the social media. Like, think like a realtor, think like a homeowner. From a mover perspective or from an employee perspective, what is missing in this one? How can we improve it? Is the communication clear? I haven't done it though. That's a project that I have. But I want to start doing it in our training or like in a conference, like for content. I think it's such a valuable resource that you can record it and put it into AI and start like, help me with the gaps. Like, how can I communicate better? Or what's happening? Why I'm not converting, or whatever you have the problem with, you can put it in AI and start messing around and implement it. For the CRM, I wasn't the one who built it. It was my husband, Dane. It, I mean, it takes time. He gave up his reading hours to build that. So instead of reading, he's building it. It took him,
That's productive. It's a productive trade-off rather than
and he
scrolling on
liked it.
social media. Yeah.
And he liked it. I mean, he really liked it. He enjoyed it. We do believe that right now, anything you have in mind, you can implement it, test it with AI. You just have to speak to it. It's so simple. You don't need to learn coding. You just have to be patient because you're gonna find like it's a little glitchy, it's not working. You gotta be willing to risk that. Like, hey, you know what? And you keep adding stuff. For example, for me, it's like I told Dane with the CRM, it's like, hey, you know what? I don't have the birthday of the realtors. Like I want to have that and be able to send an automatic text through our CRM so they know that we remember their birthday. And that's a touch of like to be in the tone like it's nice that someone say like, "Hey, happy birthday! I hope you had an amazing day." They took the time to do it. So that's the next thing that I want to add on the CRM.
I love that. I love that. I think, any touch point that you can make with that realtor, any excuse that you can have, everybody sends Christmas cards, but that's, you're getting all these Christmas cards. It doesn't stand out. But does anybody send Valentine's Day cards? Does anybody send birthday cards? Does anybody, reach out for 4th of July, whatever the case may be? And Keller Williams has a great training. They've got a good book called The Millionaire Real Estate Agent. It's a little older now. I think it was probably written around like 2012, 2015. But I loved that book because it got me thinking like a realtor. They have Keller Williams is notorious for their training. They offer great training for their agents. And so how can I learn how they think? Well, do the training that they do, read their books, go to their training, sponsor their training so you can sit in on them.
We do
And that,
go to
yeah,
their
it helps you,
trainings.
because they're essentially marketing to the same customer as we're marketing to. And it also gives you an opportunity to connect with them if you're able to train with them. And the Millionaire Real Estate Agent, one of the big takeaways I had is that they have their agents try to make 12 touch points with prospects throughout the course of a year. So essentially once a month, finding a reason to try to get in front of them, whether it's just stopping by to say hi, bringing them donuts, flowers, whatever, sending them a card, sending them a call, text, email, social media, like, comment, share, that direct message, whatever it may be, so that you do stay front of mind. Because sometimes we'll work with a realtor, they'll send us a referral, everything goes great. And then it might be 30, 60 days before they have another closing. Some realtors, the average realtor only sells like 8 or 10 houses a year. So that's not even one per month. And obviously you got your high performing realtors, but not every one of the people they sell a house to is going to need moving service. It might be an investment property. It might, they might not have stuff. They might be buying new furniture for it, whatever the case may be. But so you got to stay front of mind, because otherwise, if you haven't talked to them in 3 or 4 months, by the time that they actually have a viable referral, they just kind of forget about you. They're more focused on what they have going on. And, so that's super important. But I love it. And when you're prompting AI, I think, give me some feedback, like for the listeners, like what else how do you know how to prompt it? Like, what are you doing to get the best response? Because really the responses tend to only be as good as what the prompt is.
Ask AI. That's the simple solution. You just ask AI like, hey, I have this problem. I need to, let's say something so simple as social media. Like, hey, I have this problem. My posts on social media are getting likes, but no one is commenting.
Mm.
What's the kind of prompt that I need to know so you can help me with this problem? Ask me questions. And the AI asks you questions. Like, okay. And then it creates a prompt. And then you can say, like, can you create this as a system prompt? So you got it in your memory. You ask AI, what is the best way to prompt you? And the AI give you the answer. That and another one that I told before is always ask them to ask you questions. Because AI tends to assume or make mistakes. Like all of AI is hallucinate, honestly. So you just like ask me questions and do not make anything up. I always say that. Like ask me questions and do not embed anything.
I
So
love that.
you're
One that I found really effective. We revamped our postcard strategy earlier this year, and I said, "You are a world-class copywriter and direct mail expert like Dan Kennedy, Joe Polish, probably named a couple other experts that are, known for for writing copy and marketing and things like that. How should we structure our direct mail campaign for Two College Brothers? And it already knows all about Two College Brothers because I talk to it all the time, and I uploaded our SOPs and gave me a step-by-step plan to revamp our postcards, from the designs to the home price brackets to how frequently we need to mail to them, because everybody that's doing postcards has kind of been doing it the same way. They hit the newly listeds and they hit the pendings over a certain price point, then that's it. But what we started to see over the last few years is that, that used to work really well for us, but it started to not work as well because everybody else is doing it, and people are getting 20 postcards from the 20 different companies, and they have to pick. So how can we stand out above those people and get the biggest ROI? And prompted it as if it was an expert. So telling AI, you are an expert in this one field, I found would be really successful. But I wrote down what you just said: ask AI to ask you questions, and that's brilliant. I love that.
It doesn't matter if you're using ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, Grok. You just ask them like, hey, what's the best way to ask you about this? And it shows you how to do it. You can adjust whatever. It's like you can add like, okay, I want to add the word class to this or these examples. And yeah, it's pretty simple.
Beautiful.
Before I forget, there's one book that I want to recommend to you. I don't know.
I was just about to ask, what are some books that you have to recommend as we get close to wrapping this up?
There's this book called Never Eat Alone by Keith Ferrazzi. It's about networking. It's so good. That was the book that started planting the seed for me about how to start doing, like, nurturing relationships. He goes to another level. Like, he do events all the time. Like, I'm not that kind of person, but I took what it works for me and start implementing. It's a really good book if you want to do business development and create, at the end of the day, lasting relationships, like meaningful relationships.
Thank you for recommending that. I heard about that book years ago, and I don't think I ever picked it up. So that's a great recommendation. I will add it to my list as soon as I finished Larry O'Toole's book, Heavy Lifting, about leading with a giant heart, I think is what it's subtitled. But for those of you who don't know, Larry O'Toole just wrote a great book on culture. Just had him on the podcast. He'll be at the Moving Titan Retreat. And Valentina, you've been awesome today. We are coming up on time, and you were recently at our last Moving Titan Retreat Mastermind in Scottsdale, Arizona. You're sending your other business partner to the September event. Real quick for the listeners, it was your first time out there. Tell us a little bit about what some of the takeaways that you had from the Moving Titan Retreat Mastermind, and what you're hoping Jeff learns at the September event coming up September 2nd to the 4th.
So for us, the Moving Titan Retreat, as I told before, when you go to a retreat, someone has already walked the path that you're walking. So the ability to be in a room with people that maybe have been in your shoes before, it's like, hey, like you got a training SOPs, or Chad who helped us with the structure of the operation manager. Someone has already had that pain, and it can help you solve it. So that's one of the takeaways. And more tactical stuff that are very related to us. So I don't know if it will help anyone, but we didn't know about the UTM, the tracker that you can have for marketing. Now we have it. So we are able to know exactly if it comes from a Facebook campaign and what campaign, if it comes from Google, what general search campaign. We implemented that. We didn't know. The other takeaway was by Kurtz about the numbers. I did meet with our financial. Okay, this information, this is what I need. This is what I need from you guys. That's very related to us. But overall, what I say is, like, when you go to events like this, you have the confidence that someone's already been there, and you're going to be able to make that growing line shorter and avoid the pain of like having to get that mistakes. And you're being connected with awesome people. Like I told Brianna the Smart Moving Lady, not the host. Brianna, yeah. Like, when I believe that we are, I'm going to include myself, the new generation of business owner with a different mindset, like the growth mindset that I experienced over there in the Titan Retreat. It's something that it's amazing, because you get like, hey, this is people who who are not settling, who want to improve, who have the humility or humble to know that you can learn something new. Doesn't matter how big or small you are, You're just like, hey, I can learn something from this company. It doesn't matter if it's bigger or smaller than me. So it changed your mindset, and it allows you to take a step away from the business and get like a clear perspective, because when you're 24/7 in the business, you get a little bit of like a
Yep, tunnel
narrow,
vision.
like, oh my god, this is terrible, oh my god, no, the mover, this happened. But when you go to event like this, it's like, that's what I'm hoping Jeff from the event in September open like the view.
You're so spot on. I get so fired up. That's why we do these things, because it's just a reset. You know, you lose the forest for the trees sometimes. And when you can step away and get around people that are bigger than you at your level or smaller than you really can learn so much from everybody. I learned perhaps more from the smaller companies that, they're at a stage that I was at 10 years ago, but the landscape has changed so much, and you forget about some of those grassroots things. And now the landscape has changed so much that even if a company is smaller than you, they're having to like figure out ways to do things that you figured out at the time, but you got away from, or things have changed, and they're giving you fresh takes. And there's smaller companies that are just starting out that are so dialed in with AI, and they've found little things that, you've kind of forgotten about because you're no longer in those roles, maybe as the owner. And, just, you can learn from everybody. So Valentina, I've learned a lot from you today. I love your recommendations. I love your insight. You've got great energy, and really excited to see where Neon Giant goes. And I think I talked to Dane in a couple of weeks on here. So looking forward to that one as well. And thanks for coming on today. Any parting words? If anybody wants to get in touch with you, how can they do that?
Well, you can find us at Neon Giant Moving on Instagram and Facebook. I'm pretty receptive on Instagram. I show the whole process because I want to build trust. And that's a way that we do it.
Well, thanks for tuning in, everybody, to the Grow Your Moving Company podcast. It's been an awesome episode today with Valentina Guetlin of Neon Giant Moving in the northwestern Washington area, just outside of Seattle. Thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you next time, and tighten up. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Grow Your Moving Company podcast. If you would like to learn more about any of the sponsors listed on this show, want to apply for the next Moving Titan retreat, or interested in owning or working for Two College Brothers franchise, drop me a line at wade@twocollegebrothers.com. Moving out. Have a great day.